Nancy, good friend of mine, like I said, I have been asking her to come up for a long time. You know what? We've been around the world together, not literally, but kind of, in that our last mission trip pre-COVID, my last mission trip pre-COVID, we traveled 23,000 miles. We flew 23,000 miles in 18 days. And so I asked Nancy to come and share just the call that God has on her life and how we can pray for her. And so, Nancy, come on up.
Awesome. Thank you, Pastor Gary. Wow, it is a privilege, and I'm super excited to be here. I probably haven't said it enough, but it's so beautiful. It's so cold, and there's so much snow. But it is so awesome to be here, finally. I kind of just want to share a little bit about myself and who I am with you guys. Behind me, you see a picture of my graduation picture. I graduated college with a degree in criminal justice. I wanted to be a lawyer prior to knowing Christ. I had set my plan, my path was paved, and I wanted to be a prosecutor. Halfway through college, I met Christ and fell in love with Jesus, and my life completely changed. So I decided to finish my schooling in Rwanda, Africa, and during that time, my eyes were open to the reality of missions, that missions existed for Christians. And so coming back, I finished school and I was done, got my degree, and then the Lord told me to lay it aside, that I was not going to be using it as I thought I was going to. And so I directly went to Bible college because I knew that if I wanted to do missions, I had to be equipped. So I went to Bible college, and that is where I began to learn about, growing up in America, we know that the gospel has been given to us generation after generation. And so I found myself born-again American, completely saturated with the gospel. And we have the privilege of resources, and I'm thankful for that we can equip ourselves to then go to areas that don't have that privilege. And so after completing my Bible college, I began to just learn about unreached people. And unreached people are those that have little to no access of the gospel. And so what does that mean? Well, that means that people will be born, live, and die without ever having the opportunity to hear of Jesus. And if you can switch the picture, please. So I began to learn these things, and I began to learn that half the world had yet to hear of Jesus. And I learned that it was 3.2 billion people, 3.2 billion people that don't have the gospel. And so I realized that I wanted to be a part of that. And so as I continued to just prepare with knowing the word more, I took a short-term trip to South Asia. And it's an area that if you can talk to me after and I can share where it's at. But it's an area in South Asia where it's prominently Hindu religion. And I saw for the first time a poverty level that I had never seen in my entire life. And I saw a spiritual poverty that I have never seen my entire life. And in this part of South Asia, it's about 1 to every 10,000 people that we have one believer for every 10,000 people. And, I saw with my eyes the humanitarian part crying out of the poverty, and then the spiritual part crying out for hope, but they didn't have it. And so I saw this, and I went back home, and I just couldn't live normal. I was completely wrecked in the best way possible. And I began to pray, okay, Lord, what is my part in this? What do I do? And so if you can switch to the third picture, I want to share a quick vision that the Lord gave me. I was in South Asia, and towards the end of my trip, up to that point, I was overwhelmed with just the idol worship and the temples in every corner. And it's beautiful because there's colors, but it's masking the darkness of the area. And we were driving down this village, and I was looking at the farm fields, and the drivers swerving left and right, trying not to hit cows that just pop up everywhere on the street. And I look to my left, and I see probably one of the biggest temples that I've seen up to that point. And I was seeing men and women and children entering into a building of just emptiness and hopelessness. And the Lord gave me a vision of them being enchained. They had chains around their wrists, around their ankles. And as I was just looking, I heard the sound of chains hitting the floor. And they were just bounded by false religion and just emptiness of them trying to appease their gods, getting nowhere. And so I knew that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and that no one can go to the Father except through him. And I knew that was the only thing that was going to break their chains. And so imagine being in a false religion, you're just bounded, right? And what would we want? Someone to go and freed you, not only from your spiritual poverty, but also from the chains. And so in that situation, I knew that the only hope that they had was life with Jesus, eternity with him. And so if you can switch to the next picture, please. I began to pray, okay, Lord, I know that in your word, I see the Great Commission is the purpose of the church. And so what is my part? What is my part to fulfill what you have commanded us to be a part of? And not everyone's called to go, and if we all left, there'd be no one here. But we know that we're, called to be a part of the Great Commission being fulfilled. And so the Lord confirmed through that vision that I was going to serve him long term in that part of the world for the rest of my life. And I was like, Lord, what? I'm a young single girl, and I don't have much life experience. I'm scared. Like, what does that look like? But time and time, as I stepped back and I looked at God's heart, for the heart of the nations, I knew that I was called to go. And so I've been going back and forth to South Asia, just spending time with the women, discipling them and teaching them, learning about the culture, and hearing endless stories of persecution, but seeing them just completely free from what they were bound to, and walking a life that now they have a purpose of glorifying God. And I could see the hunger in their eyes for the word. And it was so encouraging and challenging, because all they want to do now is to take the word, bring it back to their village, risking their lives for the sake of the gospel. And so now I'm back in the States with COVID going on. Everything's unknown, but I'm preparing to go full time. I'm at my church doing a missions internship, which just entails learning the word and serving at church, just learning more about what it takes to be a missionary. And so I go around also just discipling women in missions and serving and raising monthly support, so that I could go out. And I'm constantly being challenged of I'm too young, and I kind of blend in with them, so that's good. But it's been amazing. And so my encouragement to all of you is to just be open and ask the Lord what your part is in the Great Commission. Like I said, we're not all called to go, but we all want to see the nations reached and the world reached, because we know that is the only hope that people have in our nation that is just, going crazy, and people that don't even have that news. And so I encourage you to just ask the Lord, what is my part? What am I to do to see this Great Commission fulfilled? And I have a table in the back after service if you'd like to just chat, and I have prayer cards, just different ways that you can be praying for me about going to that area of the world. But yeah, again, thank you so much for listening, and I'm going to have Elaine come up and share a bit about the school.